Coming to you from headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana, this is Huddle Shuttle Live.
I'm Archie,
I'm Archie's dad.
and we're going to come to you live each week from wherever the Indiana Hoosiers are playing to preview that week's Big Ten games. From our camping spot with our tailgating bus, the Huddle Shuttle, also known as the Kelly School Busness.
As a practice run, though, we wanted to start off with a season preview of Big Ten teams and some national action. So let's get started, Archie, with your preview of the schools in the Big Ten, starting from where you see them finishing. In the last tier of the Big Ten, you've got Purdue with only 2 wins over Southern Illinois and Northwestern, finishing 2-10 and 1-8 in conference. Northwestern finishing 3-9 and 1-8 in conference with wins over Western Illinois, Louisiana, Monroe, and Illinois. Maryland at 4-8 overall, 1-8 in the conference, winning their non-conference slate, and also a win over UCLA. And probably your hottest take of the season, you've got last year's Big Ten champion, Oregon, following up that year with a 3-9 overall record, 2-7 in the Big Ten, only picking up wins over their non-conference foe. I guess Montana State, the Bobcats, Washington, and Northwestern. Archie, tell me about your pick for Oregon.
For Oregon, it was kind of an easy decision for me. Losing Dylan Gabriel, losing a starter quarterback is bad for a program. Losing a wide receiver to go with that and only having about 2 or 3 starters returning, that's not great. Again, I think Dan Lanning's going to have to pull off a masterclass, and I don't think he can. I think he's more of an elite recruiter than someone who can put the team together. He's going to need another year before Oregon returns to its glory.
Yeah, and Dylan Gabriel's actually looking good in the NFL preseason so far.
Yeah, with the Cleveland Browns.
Of all teams.
Of all teams, yeah.
Right.
Nothing like going to Oregon. Coming from Oregon, going to Cleveland. That's the ideal situation.
In the next tier of Big Ten where you expect the finishes to be, you've got UCLA and Washington both at 5-7, 3-6 in the conference. Then you've got USC at 6-6, 4-5 in the conference, with USC winning their non-conference slate, beating Purdue, Northwestern, Iowa, and Oregon. Archie, tell us your thoughts about what USC's got coming back this year.
Not a lot. They don't have a lot coming back this year. Losing Miller Wallace to Louisville. Again, also Zachariah Branch to Georgia. Having that duo leaving, it's kind of like with Oregon. But this USC team, I think they have an easier schedule than Oregon does. And I think they can just get some Mickey Mouse wins.
The middle of USC's schedule has games with Michigan State, Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Nebraska. You have them picked to lose all of those games over that 7-week span. Is that going to be something that you think just breaks the spirit of the Trojans?
I do. I think from where they come, like if they are able to beat, I think they can beat Michigan State, Illinois, and Nebraska, maybe. But it'd have to be if someone gets injured on Michigan or State, or someone gets injured, or someone can't, it's not a long shot. I think it'd be a close game, but I think those close games, especially Nebraska is their last game before Northwestern, Iowa, Oregon. I think if they can get close in that Nebraska game, it's going to give them a little spirit to beat the rest.
Okay. After USC, you've got Minnesota also at 6-6 and 4-5 on the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then at kind of the next level of that third tier of Big Ten finishers, you've got Iowa going 7-5, 4-5 in the conference. Tell me what you think about the Hawkeyes.
Again, losing one quarterback's bad. Losing 2 quarterbacks is bad.
What do you think about the transfer they brought in from South Dakota State, that Mark Gronowski?
I don't know about him because, again, South Dakota State, it's an FCS school. we're not sure how those are going to produce in the Big Ten, especially. We saw Curtis work last year, but he came from Ohio. So it's going to be a confusing season with him at quarterback. Losing Brady Cook and Cade McNamara and bringing him in is going to be difficult to adjust for if he's a scrambler or if he's arm.
And one of Iowa's losses you got figured in is against Indiana. We'll be at that game at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. That'll be Iowa's homecoming.
All right.
It is.
Okay.
After that, you've got Illinois finishing off Tier 3 at 7-5 overall and 4-5 in the conference. They've got a tough schedule. You have them with losses at Indiana, against Ohio State, against Rutgers, Wisconsin, and Northwestern. So tell me what you think about the Illini.
They lost 6 key players from last season, including wide receiver Pat Bryant. And to my next point, they were Luke Altmaier, their quarterback, will return for his 3rd year. I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't age. A lot of teams have picked to be this year's Indiana. I'm not convinced with games, but I'm not convinced with games versus Indiana and Ohio State. I've got picked as losses against improved Rutgers and Wisconsin squads.
Now, you were saying with Oregon about Dylan Gabriel being it's hard to replace a seasoned quarterback. Like you said, this will be Luke Altmaier's 3rd year as a starter for the Illini. Will that make them a stronger team, or do you think he's pretty well topped out?
I think he's topped out.
Okay.
I think he's going to always be some people. It's like kind of Taven was for IU, Taven Jackson III. Basically, he has the upside to be good, but never ended up being good.
Taven Jackson III, I think you're thinking of Dexter Williams II.
I think he is.
Okay. Go on.
Taven Jackson. I don't know. Going into Tier 2, we have Ohio State and Wisconsin. I want to focus in on this Ohio State team.
Coming off a national championship.
Yeah, coming off the Natty. I have them going 8-4 and 6-3 in the conference.
That's not a crazy prediction, I don't think. Looking at their schedule, you have them opening with a loss versus Texas, losses with Penn State, Michigan, and Rutgers. Penn State is one of the favorites in the conference this year, if not the favorite. Texas, obviously, with Arch Manning. Ryan Day's had a hard time with Michigan, as we saw even last year. The only one of those that would be a significant upset probably would be Rutgers. So that's not a crazy result for them to end up with 4 losses. It's wild to think about that coming off a national championship the way they did last season. But that is an interesting pick.
Again, Ohio State losing a quarterback. If you notice a trend in all these teams, the better or the worse quarterback you lose, the better you become. Because I know that sounds weird, but losing Will Howard, he's not a great quarterback. He was a system quarterback throwing to Jeremiah Smith. If you notice before they even had Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs on that defense helping.
So many receivers. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. in the
day. He has been he has just been a system quarterback. So losing one, I don't know if Ryan Day is going to have to bring in another system. If he brought in another system quarterback from the transfer portal, if he brought in like a raw talent guy. But I'm curious how to see that what quarterback they bring in, how that will affect Jeremiah Smith's Heisman chances. What if he's a running quarterback and they become a running team? Or what if he's more of a passing quarterback? Does that help Jeremiah's?
If they become a running team, Jeremiah Smith is gone. That guy is electric, and he ain't going to be second fiddle on an option team. Next in that second tier, you've got Nebraska. Now, Nebraska's a team that I'm pretty high on. I think Matt Rule's a great coach. I think he's bringing back something to Nebraska, an identity to Nebraska, a little more toughness. You have them picked to go 8-4 in the conference, or 8-4 overall rather, 6-3 in the conference. Tell me your thoughts on the Cornhuskers.
Cornhuskers. They lost 6 players, like Illinois. They just lost 6 players, including Ty Simpson, their running back, I think. I'm not wrong. I don't watch Nebraska. You get the point. But can Dylan Raiola make that step up from that freshman magical year he had, kind of making that Nebraska team look decent? What do you think, Dad?
Tell you the truth, Dylan Raiola, 5-star freshman last year. I was very thankful that IU got to play Nebraska at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington when they did. Everyone was at that point of the season, was really high on Raiola. I think he's going to be an outstanding player. I think he is an outstanding player.
Yeah.
But I was happy that IU got to play them his freshman year relatively early in the season. That's when I want to play freshman quarterbacks before they get seasoned, before they get that experience. And they were able to make Dylan Raiola look bad at times. They made him look like a freshman at times, which is going to happen. I think he's going to have a big step up this year.
Is he going to have a sophomore slump?
I don't think so. I think, like I said, I think Matt Rule's a really good coach. I don't know their schedule. You've got them with losses of Cincinnati, Michigan, Minnesota, and Penn State. Those aren't crazy losses by any stretch of the imagination. I think they might win maybe one of those more. I think they might go 9-3, which is very good.
Let me see who. Oh, look at this semester.
But no, I mean, you have
who do you have them beating? Michigan,
Minnesota.
Yeah,
I would have them beating Minnesota.
I could see that.
Yeah, so I just think that they've got something, but I think by his third, or if he sticks around to not go to the NFL, his 4th year, he will be certainly a Heisman Trophy contender, if not favorite at that point. After Nebraska, you've got Michigan State at 9-3, 6-3 in the conference, and Rutgers in a big surprise. You have them going 10-2 overall, 7-2 in conference, with their only losses being to Iowa and Penn State. Iowa's always a trap game where they've got such good defense for so long. Yeah. Even when they're not being especially explosive on offense, their defense usually seems to keep them in games.
Before we get to Tier 1, I do want to talk about some teams that are not in the Big Ten, and Heisman contenders from those teams.
Let's wait for that until we get through the Big Ten preview. Next, in that top tier of the Big Ten, you've got Michigan finishing 10-2 overall, 8-1 in the conference, with a loss to Michigan State and Oklahoma. So, what are your thoughts on the Wolverines?
5-star, Bryce Underwood, one of the most hyped up quarterbacks of our generation. Maybe even more hyped up than Dylan Raiola. Also, he wears number 19. That's a pet peeve.
Apparently, he's terrible in NCAA 26. Like, what gives with that? Apparently, his skill caps are super low. Wild. But EA Sports, not a fan. Go on.
Oh God. Losing Colston Loveland to the Bears and Will Johnson to the Cardinals, having them both drafted, it's not the greatest look for the Wolverines, but I'm hoping they, with their coach, I'm hoping he can develop, kind of like how he developed under Jim Harbaugh. He can develop some of his players like Jim Harbaugh did.
Yeah, and quarterback play was definitely a weakness last year. They had the elite defensive line.
Alex Orji.
Yeah, they had the elite defensive line, and just some bad quarterback play really hurt Michigan last year. Do you think the recently announced penalties related to the sign stealing scandal with Michigan is going to take them down any notches, or do you think they'll be able to get through it okay?
I think it's going to take them down a game or two.
Okay.
Honestly, do I know who it's against? No. Because you never really know with this Michigan team. I think 10-2 is a pretty solid prediction, but Michigan because it's just a consensus win against Ohio State.
Hmm.
But if they're if kind of how last year they got peppered sprayed, if and this year it's in Ann Arbor, I'm curious how that home crowd will react if there's supposed to be a ruling in the next month or two.
Oh, they got the ruling.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Sherrone Moore is suspended an extra, I think, game. Yeah.
Who's Trent Moore?
I'm the coach, Sherrone Moore.
Oh.
You got to start reading your ESPN alerts. ESPN alert, bro. We're going to skip over who you got next. You got Indiana. We'll do them last. Who you have at the top tier of the Big Ten is Penn State. Obviously, that's not a surprise. That's not news. So tell me about what you think about James Franklin, the Nittany Lions. Will this be the year that Franklin finally gets over the hump and takes them to the promised land?
Yes, I do think it's going to be the year they get over the hump. With the last year of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen and Drew Aller probably going to leave for the draft next year.
He's a senior. I think he has to.
Oh, I thought he was a junior. My bad. But the real question is, how will the missing Tyler Warren affect their whole offense? Are they going to become more of a running team?
I think you kind of have to with Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton.
Like, part of the reason that they were a passing team last year was because of Tyler Warren. Now that he's gone, I don't know how that's going to affect James Franklin's game plan against these teams, but that's a season time decision. Yeah. Also, we're 6 days away from football.
And also, like you had said throughout a lot of these previews, that so much of the game is quarterback driven, and Drew Aller is an experienced starter. He's had some bad moments, but overall, I think he's a very good quarterback, and I mean they do have to be considered a favorite. Now, you do have, by the way, you have Penn State with one loss during the season to Iowa, and then going all the way to the Big Ten Championship, where you have them facing our Indiana Hoosiers, who you have also finishing 11-1 with a loss to Penn State, 8-1 in the conference, and then meeting in the Big Ten Championship, where you have Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's falling down.
Set issues.
One moment, please.
Yeah, you have them avenging their season loss to Penn State in the Big Ten Championship to win the Big Ten title. So we're going to go into a little more depth about Indiana because we're homers. So Kurt Cignetti has been famous last year and this year for going into the transfer portal to try to make changes. The first big transfer portal upgrade or replacement, rather, is bringing in Fernando Mendoza from Cal to replace the departed Curtis Rourke at quarterback. How do you think, or what is your prediction? What are your thoughts on bringing in Fernando? His little brother Alberto Mendoza is already here. And what do you think?
I think he's going to be a solid fit in this Indiana system. I mean, he's okay at running, but last year we weren't the best quarterback running team.
I mean, Curtis Rourke was a statue, and then it turned out he had a torn
ACL
the whole time anyway. Fernando's obviously a lot more mobile.
Passing, I think he's a little less of the arm of Curtis. I think he has just like a few less than Curtis.
Yeah, they had very similar stats last year. I think, what did we see on the show on the Big Ten Network, like the training camp thing? It was like
he had
double the sacks. Like everything was similar, except Cal's offensive line was really bad. And Indiana has invested a lot in the O-line this year. So I think that's if he stays clean, he's able to move around. He'll be a lot more productive. And one thing, so Archie and I went to the spring game last year in 2024. And what did we think about Curtis Rourke during that game?
We thought he wasn't good.
Yeah. So the way that Curtis Rourke looked in the spring game last year was pretty pedestrian. It didn't look bad, but he looked pretty average. As it turned out, we found out, months later, that said a lot more about the Indiana defense than it did
The Indiana.
The Indiana offense and what Curtis Shork was able to do. At the spring game this year, I was not overly impressed with Fernando, how the offense looked throwing the ball this year. But I was also in the back of my mind thinking of last year where I had the same feelings about Curtis Shork, and it turns out it's because the defense was really good. Also, I think you have to consider that Fernando's not been on campus a super long time, at least as of the spring game. Yeah. And if he gets a chance to settle in and adjust, he might really excel and be something special. I mean, the NFL draft experts have him highly rated, right?
Yeah. I think they have it like 7 in his class, or
I think some people have him ranked in the top couple. Yeah. And he's only a junior, so he would have another year. Speaking of the revamped offensive line, they brought in a Notre Dame transfer, Pat Coogan, at center to replace the departed Michael Kadick. Big shout out to his parents, Big Mike and Mary Beth, who became friends of ours last year, camping at the tailgates. And then they brought back Khalil Benson from Colorado after spending 1 year with Coach Prime. He's back, hopefully to slide into that guard position. What do you think about is the IU offensive line, Drew Evans coming back from his torn Achilles? Are they going to be able to hold up or maybe even be better than last year?
I don't think they're going to be better than last year. I think they're going to be on the same level, if not just a tiny bit worse.
Okay. Do you think Carter Smith? I mean, he's a redshirt junior. That's his 3rd year as a starter. He's considered one of the top tackles in the Big Ten, if not in the country. Do you think he sticks around if he has a good year? Do you think he sticks around for another season?
I think Coach Siggs. I think he's gonna. Did he come from James Madison?
Nope. Carter Smith has been a starter since 2023.
Oh, well, I think he has too much dedication after last season to Coach Sig. I think also that culture shift from more running team to full-on passing last year, I think he'll stay. And just getting an opportunity to get more reps, getting more first downs and all that stuff, I think he'll want to stay more.
Can I share a conspiracy theory about an O-lineman going to the NFL early?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever see, in the age of NIL, I don't think you'll ever see a top O-lineman go into the NFL unless
they're a top 5.
Unless they're a high first-round pick. I think the money, the NIL money, is going to end up being too good for most guys to take a flyer at being a 4th or 5th round NFL draft pick and maybe even getting cut where you can stay in college and make God knows how much money. All right. Another big question for the Hoosiers is their defensive line. They lost James Carpenter and CJ West to the NFL. They've kept Mikhail Kamara. He decided to stick around, which was a great news for Coach Cimetti and Coach Pat Kuntz in the D-line. They brought in some transfers. They got Hosea Wheeler. I think Ratliff was somebody who was here last year, but Ratliff's a transfer as well. Tucker is someone who was here before. Do you think the new additions to the D-line are going to be able to give Mikhail Kamara the assistance he needs to keep being the productive player that he's been?
I think last year the D-line definitely helped a lot, especially with James Carpenter and especially those two. I think Mikhail Kamara is going to get more sacks because he's also going to be the best edge rusher on that team or that D-line.
So, I think he led the country in pressures last year. Yeah. I mean, he didn't get home as much as he probably wanted to.
Because he was helping more James Carpenter get home.
And CJ West, I think, had some good sacks too. Yeah.
So it kind of comes full circle to where he gets to be the one getting sacks.
Yeah, and speaking of the defense in general, obviously Mikhail Kamara coming back was a big keep. Aiden Fisher at linebacker, and then D'Angelo Pons, who will only be a junior this year, a true junior, leading that defenses. Those are 3 guys that have been All-Americans or are going to be All-Americans.
Quick question about Pons. Do you think he's going to leave if we have a good season?
I don't know. I
could say it's possible.
I think it's possible. I think it depends, like I said, on what his draft position would be. The big knock on him, if there's any, is he doesn't have the prototype size. He is small for a corner. If he's with his productivity, if the NFL is willing to take a 1st or 2nd round pick, use a 1st or 2nd round pick on him, it's probably worth it financially. if they're not, or if he's not convinced that he would be a first or second round pick,
I
again,
would stay.
I would stay. And at the end of the day, if you're going to the NFL, you're doing it to get paid, to be a professional. In this day of NIL, in this era of NIL, we have a chance to get paid in college. I think you just have to weigh where's the money at. And so I think that's a great question. Bryant Haynes, the defensive coordinator, is outstanding. I have high hopes for this IU defense. I think they'll be better than last year.
We've already talked about Kamara and Collins. Let's talk about Fisher. Okay. What do you think?
I think Fisher's a gamer. He came last year as a transfer from JMU. He was everywhere. I think there's going to be a big question about.
Didn't he lead the league in or the CFP, or he was close to leading them in tackles?
I don't know about total tackles, but in stops. He was it was a fantastic linebacker. Replacing Jalen Walker will be tough, but we'll see what they bring. I have big hopes for Isaiah Jones, Caden Turner. I thought that Turner looked really good in the spring game. I'm hoping he gets out there as a chance to do something. But they've got plenty of linebackers options to fill in and try to fill in that gap for who they've lost. And I think with Fisher, as long as they stay relatively healthy injury-wise, they could be really something special. One of the big complaints last year about Indiana was that the schedule was easy, air quotes easy. I don't know that it was necessarily easy. Yeah. It definitely started off easy and got harder as the season went on.
As we closed into Ohio State and Michigan, those two games especially. And then we started giving up points in Michigan State where we weren't leading the whole time.
Yeah, but the season with it going from the non-conference to UCLA, Maryland, it got Nebraska, Northwestern, Washington. It got progressively harder through the season. This year's schedule is noticeably tougher. Again, games at Iowa, at Oregon, UCLA, who I think will be much improved. I think we got them at a good time last year. Michigan State, who you think is going to be pretty good. At Penn State, at Maryland, who always has a lot of talent. I think they underachieve. But it's a varied schedule, and it's a tough schedule. So, I agree with you. I think they're going to have some good wins in there. They opened the Big Ten at home against Illinois. That's a tough schedule. You don't seem to think it's going to make a huge difference in their final record. You think they're going to stand up to it?
I think Illinois is overrated. I think the only true loss that I think might be just not a close game, again, is the one loss I had predicted, Penn State. If they can win those games up coming to Penn State and Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, I think those teams, a lot of those teams aren't great. Like, Illinois is okay, but that's early in the season. So, having that cakewalk kind of UCLA and Maryland at the end right before week 11, will that affect how they change the game plan going from an easy team to a national championship contender?
Speaking of easy teams, we finished the season at Purdue.
Yeah.
Last year, we dog walked.
It's a blowout.
We dog walked Purdue 66-0 at Memorial Stadium. This year, we're making the trip for a Friday night game after Thanksgiving to Ross Aid. Let's just do an early score prediction, Archie. What do you think it's going to be?
89-0.
IU?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Nah, but being for real, 47-20.
I think it could be worse than last year. Purdue has brought in
nobody.
They brought in 1 million transfers,
and they lost their linemen.
They lost everybody. The only returning starter they've got is Devin Mockabee, and their coach. He's supposed to be good.
Sucks.
But that's a big ask. I think they could take a step back this year, which is hard considering how bad they were last year. I think that bucket game could be ugly. And who sucks?
Purdue sucks!
Oh, that's going to be really loud. You shouldn't do that.
Sorry,
Dude,
Purdue
stop
sucks.
playing with your microphone. Get right. All right, so let's talk about the week 0 schedule, or the games that we're going to have before we get to broadcast live from Memorial Stadium for the first time. Let's see, a couple games. Fresno State at Kansas. The last I checked, Kansas was currently favored by 14. Who do you have in that game?
Kansas State. Or Kansas, sorry.
Okay.
I was reading the next one. My apologies, guys.
Iowa State at Kansas State.
No, this is going to be a close game.
In Kansas State, it's close, but they're currently favored by 3.
Iowa State, Big 12 contenders last year, made it to that championship, lost terribly to Arizona State. And then Kansas State, Avery Johnson, a Heisman contender. I'm going with Kansas State, a win for the random state here.
And the last early season game that we're going to talk about briefly is Nebraska at Cincinnati. Now, Nebraska was a team we talked about, and I kind of spoiled that you have Cincinnati winning. Cincinnati is a team that you and I both seem to enjoy because their quarterback is Brendan Sorsby, former IU quarterback, who we thought was really had a chance to be a future of the IU program. Then he transferred out after Tom Allen was fired. Nebraska is favored by 7. Now, this is at Cincinnati. This is at Nippert. What do you think?
Yeah. That's their stadium name?
Nippert, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I'm just a huge Brendan Sorsby guy. I don't have much information on Cincinnati. All I know is Brendan Sorsby. I'm going to pick Brendan Sorsby. Every time.
The fighting Sorsbys?
The fighting Sorsby's over everything. Except IU. IU will be the shit for them.
Okay, so superlatives for the season. Who is your bust of the year?
Bust of the year. Again, Oregon. I had said this again. I'll say this before. Oregon.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Going off your picks, have to say going from a Big Ten title to 3-9 has to be considered a huge bust. Who is going to be your surprise team of the year?
I think Michigan State or Rutgers. It's close. But overall, I have Michigan State going 9-3 and 6-3 in the Big Ten.
Of all the Big Ten teams, how many do you think will be competing for that CFP spot? Or which teams, I guess, in particular, do you think?
Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana. If Ohio State can go past that 8-4, which I needed a filler team, to be honest.
Well, I mean, you have Michigan going 10-2.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's
their schedule's kind of easy after.
Well, but if Ohio State beats Michigan, then they're right in there in that mix as well. But they still have to get over that. Ryan Day has to get over that Michigan hump.
Yeah.
Who do you have as far as some breakout players that you expect to see in the Big Ten this year?
Nico, I'm leaving and packing my bags. Bryce Underwood and Drew Aller. I know that third one. You have your opinion on it. You can go ahead and say it.
How are you a third-year starter, Heisman Trophy contender, and considered a breakout player? Go on.
2023. We have a cat. 2,631 yards, 25 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not a terrible stat line.
Not at all.
But those yards were bad. 24. He throws for 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 picks. I think this season, with the addition of speedster Josiah Brown, I think they will lean on the run game a lot, but I think he'll throw less picks, maybe 3,500 yards, 5 picks, and 30 touchdowns.
Do you think that gets him a Heisman Trophy?
No. I don't think they'll win the Heisman.
So who do you think he's a Heisman contender?
Yes. I think he's going to finish 2nd or 3rd.
Are there any other Big Ten Heisman contenders that you can think of offhand or that you have?
Jeremiah Smith, if they decide to pass the ball.
How do you not? He is so good.
I know.
Yeah, it's hard.
But then people are just going to start triple covering him.
Well, that's what they did last year, though, and they've got enough wide receivers.
Well, they had Mbuka last year.
Yeah, but they still have receivers at Ohio State, and if they want to triple cover, if they want to take Jeremiah Smith out of the game, it's kind of like in the day where Deion Sanders never got thrown at. It wasn't because he didn't have stats, because people wouldn't throw his direction that he was that good. Yeah. And I think trying to take Jeremiah Smith out of the game is a
Big mistake.
Well, it's a big bet. It's a big risk, just because he is so good. And he has so much talent around him. I think that wraps up our preseason edition of Huddle Shuttle Live.
Oh, I do want to talk about some Heisman contenders.
Those were the two that you had.
I know, but there's one
Excuse me.
player or two non-players that will finish out the top 5. Cade Klubnik. I think he's going to win Heisman. Clemson quarterback, air raid team. He was a great quarterback last year. Returns for his senior season at Clemson. Do I know how that will go? No. But we'll see. Ryan Williams, Alabama, sophomore this year. Great last year, went viral for being a 17-year-old for making
Absolute
insane
stud.
catches. Yeah. And then Jeremiah Love.
Okay.
I think Notre Dame's heavily going to lean on the run game here.
Well, they'll need to. And Love's run against Penn State in the college football playoff.
And we don't have to talk about that one.
Well, his run for a touchdown where he drug about 5 guys, broke tackles right there at the goal line, was one of the most impressive runs of the season for sure.
Oh, and then the IU run. We don't have to talk about that one. We don't talk about that.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk about that. Look it up if you want to.
Like I said, so I think that wraps up our first Huddle Shuttle Live, getting ready for the 2025 college football season, which kicks off, at least for Indiana, in 2 weeks, Labor Day weekend at Memorial Stadium against Old Dominion. We'll be there. We're excited. If you find us at the auxiliary RV lot, which is over on the highway and Fee Lane across from the Unitarian Church.
And the softball field.
Look for the Huddle Shuttle. We will be selling $20 a shirt, the Signetti custom shirts we had made for the season. We're excited for another great year of IU football. We will have to miss a couple games because of Archie's youth football schedule. But otherwise, we'll be making it to, it looks like 10.
Maybe 11.
Well, no, about 10 games this year is what I expect we'll be going to, including away games. Like I said, we're really excited. And we found out today, setting up the YouTube page, that we can't actually broadcast live unless we have 50 subscribers. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button or smash it.
I don't know.
Ding that notification bell or whatever.
Christ.
Whatever the kids say. If we get to 50 subscribers, we can start posting them live as opposed to having to record and upload.
Because we also don't feel like creating 50 alt accounts.
Yeah, I don't want to do 50 alt accounts. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Go Hoosiers.
Let's go. Oh, thanks.